Hey everyone, Will here. Welcome back to another late night coding session, creating our very own AI coding agent called NanoCoder. If this is your first time tuning in, let me share my screen with you and explain what NanoCoder is, what we are creating, and where it is going. So welcome to NanoCoder. If you're familiar with any kind of coding agents, then you'll be familiar with NanoCoder. It's just like Gemini CLI or Claude Code or most recently Codex. However, it is local first. You can choose the provider. By default, you can set it up to have complete privacy in mind. And if you're really familiar with coding agents, then you might be familiar with OpenCode. And the question I get a lot is, how is NanoCoder different to OpenCode, which is another CLI that runs in your terminal and allows you to plug and play with any models? And the difference is philosophy. NanoCoder is completely open source. Unlike OpenCode, it encourages anyone and everyone to get involved in the direction and the building of the product. Let me give you a demo on how NanoCoder works, because you may or may not be familiar with these tools. If you are, then you can skip ahead, but if you're not, or you're curious about how it works, this is what this is going to be about. Let me show you. So a tool like NanoCoder has the ability to access your file system. It can open files, it can read files, it can write to files, it can execute commands with permission, obviously. And that's really powerful because you can use it for a lot of tasks. So let me switch the model over to be XAI's Grok Code Fast, because it's a pretty good model. I'm going to ask it a question like this one, which is going to be, what files are in my current working directory? And I can hit enter on that, and it will think for a second, and it should come back relatively quickly here and want to execute some bash. So again, depending on how technical you are, you may or may not know what this means. And this basically wants to read the files, and you can see that it does that. And there you go. These are the files in my current working directory. So what I'm then going to go and do is go and ask it to open agents.md and tell me what is inside in simple terms. And I'll execute that, and it will think for a second. Then it will open up the agents.md file as you're watching right now, and it will tell me what's inside in a simple manner. Here is your summary. And now I might want to say, can you add a section about coding for chess? Just randomly, first thing that came to my head, to the agents.md file. And this will demonstrate it writing to a file. So it'll think for a second, and then it should use the write file tool. Oh, it wants me to clarify. So this is what's really cool. I love these tools because it wants you to clarify what it wants to add before it goes ahead and just randomly create something. Just add a bit about how this repo can be used to create a chess computer. Think of some random lorem ipsum. I don't know, I'm just absolutely thinking off the top of my brain here. And I'm going to run this, and hopefully it will add some lorem ipsum just to demo how this works. And there you go. So it wants to insert 4 lines around lines 128, coding for chess, and it's got some random things. And I will go, yeah, go for it. Write that. And it should tell me that it's all good, and then we'll pop into the codebase just to see that as confirmed. So I'll come in to the codebase here, and we go to agents.md here, and we can see we have a new section here called Coding for Chess, which wasn't there before. So hopefully that gives you an insight into the power of these tools. And that's what we're building. That's NanoCoder. It's the first project inside a collective which I started called the Nano Collective. It aims to be an open source collective building AI. We want to build like powerful local first tools for developers. And I more than ever want it to be about the community, for the community. Again, this is a big difference between NanoCoder and something like OpenCode, is that I really want to encourage contributions from all over the community. I want this to be a collective where if you contribute, you win, and you can get compensated for that. And it always means that we're not relying on any venture backing, and we're trying to build something that's always going to be for the people. So that's the Nano Collective. There's a ton of extra things that I want to start working on within this collective alongside some of the community members that are already here, but that's for another day. Today, we're developing NanoCoder. So let me get into what we're going to work on for a little bit, maybe half an hour this evening, because it is about to be 10 p.m. in the UK, so I haven't got loads of time, but I wanted to get started. So hopping over to the NanoCoder repo, you can see this is our repo. And in the issues tab here, there is a feature request for a /recommendations command, which is going to be a really important one because I've been slowly spreading the word of this tool. I've been sending it out to quite a lot of communities on Reddit and across the internet. You may or may not have seen some of the shorts that I've created, as well as some of the previous videos I've made on the project. And one of the biggest things that you get asked is which models work well with NanoCoder. And this is a fair question because it can take any provider and any model, as long as it's OpenAI compatible, it has a little bit of a question around which ones are going to be working best. Some people are more knowledgeable on which models are good. Some people are less knowledgeable on this, and this is some missing information. So this recommendations feature, which I want to work on, aims to fix this by looking at the system resources you have available, as well as things like network connectivity and what you're trying to do. And it can recommend a series of models that you can use, their pros and cons, what you might want to use them for, what you might not want to use them for, and again come out with hopefully a little bit of a clearer idea on which models are going to work well with NanoCoder and which are not. So that's the feature we're going to work on. So back in the repo here for NanoCoder, I'm going to first create a agents file, which is going to contain our plan of action. And it's always created like this. It's going to be the year followed by the month, followed by the day, which is the 24th of September, and then a title on what it's going to be, which is going to be recommendations command.md. And then I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to paste in from GitHub our plan of action. And the last thing I'm going to do is now go over to Claude and get it to start working on this plan, essentially. So I'm going to go clear here, and I'm going to go and give it this plan and say, can we start implementing this plan? So you may or may not have seen some of my previous videos. I do a series at the moment called Vibe Coding and FPS, which is literally me using a tool like Claude Code and just letting it do whatever it wants. I don't even look at the output. However, that is not what I do. Normally, a little bit about me is I work on a bunch of tech businesses. I do a lot of software engineering day to day, and I use a lot of AI assistants. However, I spend a lot of my time actually just reviewing code outputs. It's very rarely, although I say that it's on auto accept, I very rarely do auto accept. I prefer to obviously review the output. It does speed things up immensely compared to a few years ago, but there is no denying some of the downsides to just purely vibe coding. And if you're interested in how far you can push these agents to code for you, go and watch my vibe coding and FPS series. And at the moment, here it is. It's read a few files, which is fun, and it wants to make a directory called system. That sounds in line with the plan. I will let it do that. It's important to always keep a weather eye on what it's creating. And we should be able to see our system directory very soon. Source, where is it? There it is, system. Let's see what it's got to do next. So this recommendations command is going to be relying on a database that is kept up to date with what the community thinks. This is not going to be pulling information from a third party. This is going to be a database that's bundled with the tool itself that has this model information. It will definitely rely on us keeping it updated, but at the moment it seems the most feasible way to go. So it wants to do some more stuff. Let's have a look what it wants to do. It wants to create detector.ts, and let's have a little look at what that's going to be. I guess this aims at detecting which system we are actually on, as it's called system detector, and scrolling through that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to agree to this. One thing I already noticed about this is that it's going to do types at the top here. I don't want it to do types at the top here. There's a dedicated types location in the code base that we can use, so I'll be getting it to move that in a second. Cool. Wants to make a recommendations directory. I'm happy to go with that for now. I'm very quickly going to press pause on this model. And I do want to check out, there's an excellent member of the community that has helped tremendously. Go check him out. And he put together this brief little package here that he recommends, which is for system information, which is something I'm actually going to give the LLM. It's not in the planning document, but I'm going to give it to the LLM because it might make use of it. Instead of handcrafting system detectors, as you see here, it may be able to make use of this. So I'm going to say that. So I said before you continue, there is this library for detecting system information. It might be useful, and it's going to check it out. So let's let it fetch that information here. There you go. This library looks much more comprehensive and reliable than our manual approach. Let me check if it's already available in the project. It isn't, so it's going to have to install that as it's realized. I think this is what it boils down to me when you're using AI assistance is even NanoCoder, if you use that, is you just can't necessarily trust that it knows best. It doesn't have context on the whole code base. That's an ongoing problem that is being worked on. But this is a really important thing to do. Is it hasn't known about this. It's a really useful tool that will speed up what it's doing. It doesn't have to do it manually. It covers a lot more edge cases, and it didn't know about it. And only because I've said about it is it going to implement it. So that's a really key thing for you. Cool. Coming back, it's doing some good stuff. Let's approve this. It looks correct despite the many errors in this file at the moment, but hopefully it will clear that up. It usually is pretty good. And before we move on, or let it move on, we will review the output of this file to make sure that we are happy with the detecting system that we're going for. Yeah, it's getting rid of many. Can you see how much this file is shortening? This is what this library is doing. It's helping things a lot. I'm just going to interrupt here because it wants to move on despite there being TypeScript errors in this file, and also the types, which I don't want at the top. It's going to use this little IDE diagnostics MCP. Very cool stuff. Wonderful. It's done it correctly now and created a system types file, which is much better, I think. Cool, and on it continues. And this little bit of redirection is a good thing. I caught it early, and it looks like it's going to actually just write the recommendations type to the system file as it wasn't going to before. Now it is. Everything's in the right place, and we're moving forward. Look at this. This looks great. Not all of these types are going to work. For example, subscription. It's always going to be free or pay per use. We'll let it run with it for a minute, and we'll make adjustments after the fact. The types look great, though, for the most part. And now it appears to be creating the model database, which is a thing we're going to have to keep updated. At this point, I'm also kind of in two minds about whether to package this up as a separate package under the Nano Collective as well, because I think a lot of people could make use of a tool like this, knowing which model to use. But we'll keep it built in for a second, maybe something to extrapolate later. Let's have a look at that recommendations file. Wow, that's a lot of recommendations. I will get it to clear this out soon because, again, you may or you may not know, most of these large language models have cut-offs from a long time ago, 2024 some of them, and therefore this information is very often outdated, which scrolling through and looking, it is. Some of it's not, but lots of it is. So you've got to make sure that this information is up to date. Again, what we'll probably do is clear this out of suggestions and write in our own, and also ask and rely on the community to fill in this information through pull requests over time as well to make this recommendations engine a lot better. Model matching engine. That's a mouthful. Model matching engine. Get compatible models, get top recommendations, get best local. Yeah, cool. Lots of cool stuff happening in here. Here we go. We've got the provider recommendation engine, which is interesting. OpenRouter, Olama. Again, what we'll have to do is put in a few more providers. I noticed it's going for Olama, OpenRouter, OpenAI. We are not going to want OpenAI, and we're going to want a few more local providers other than Olama. We'll get it to read the docs for that. And now it's going to make the recommendations command, which suggests to me that we're not far off it being done. And it's always fun to have a first look at what Claude or any CLI has come up with. Okay, cool. It's gone for quite an interesting thing here. We have many different commands within NanoCoder. I'll quickly show you those. So if I go here and click build and then do start, hopefully it works. Yeah, it does, because it's mid creation of things. If I go help here, you can see that we have a number of commands here. We have help, exit, clear, model provider, custom commands, all sorts of cool stuff. And if you press / and then tab, and you get a bunch of available commands as well. The pink ones are the built-in commands. Teal ones, they're the custom commands, because NanoCoder also has a custom command system, which is pretty cool. And yeah, So that's what we're creating now. They have a very standard format. They go under the, let me find the file, the commands in the source file. They have a very similar system where we create it in a function here, and there is a template engine which you can use to create your command, as well as various other things you can do. So you can see this one's quite a complicated command, but if you go to the help command, it's much shorter here. You can see how this works. It's really cool. And again, it being open source, go check out NanoCoder on GitHub. You can read all these files, make changes yourself, submit pull requests, whatever you'd like to do. I'd encourage you, because having new community members is awesome. Anyway, it wanted to make a file. This looks long, but quite good. Here is what gets exported, and then all of this extra stuff is used for templating and showing things. So it looks okay. Again, we'll see what it comes out with in a minute. Seems to have fallen awry here a little bit, adding its types here. I'll go, no, remember, you're absolutely right. It loves saying that as well. If you use Claude Code, you know. I'm going to jump in here. I actually don't know why it's doing this. So I hit enter on that. What it was doing is it seemed to want to create some sort of rating system where users can go, yeah, I like that model. No, I don't like that model. And it writes it to some sort of preferences file. I think this is over the top. I don't think we need to do that. I just want it to, and this is what this prompt says, I just want it to basically analyze the system that the user is using and just recommend models and providers that fit the requirements best with what they're good at, what they're not good at, just to keep people better informed. Okay, we're testing the implementation by building it. I'll let you humour yourself. Yeah, there's a few errors there. I suspect they're in the formatter. By the looks of things, it is. Source commands recommendation. Yep. So the formatter, I'll let it fix that. At the moment, there is no need for me to jump in. I'm waiting for the recommendations file here to go green. There it is. The long-awaited. It's going to test it again. npm run build. We'll let it humour itself again as per usual. And it will probably summarize its hard work. Perfect. The implementation is now complete. Let me update the to-do list to mark everything as finished. And there is an invisible to-do list. Now it's created and modified 10 files, which means it's been a busy boy. Oh, Claude. Right, let's go through this summary together. Implementation complete. The recommendations command has been successfully implemented according to the plan. Here's what was built. System detection. Use the system information library to detect CPU memory, GPU, network, and Ollama status. Lovely. 2. Model database. Curated database of local and API models with capability ratings, system requirements, and cost information. Excellent. Model matching engine. Intelligently matches models to system capabilities with compatibility assessments and warnings. Sounds great on the surface. Provider recommendation engine. Generates provider recommendations based on system capabilities and user needs. Lovely. Recommendations commands. React-based UI component that displays system summary, quick start recommendations, and detailed model options. Lovely. And properly organized TypeScript interfaces for system compatibilities and recommendations. And then we won't read the rest of this because it seems all good. Right, it seems to be very happy that it's done. Let's jump in and see. Let's start. And we should be able to see this command, first of all, if we go into here. There it is, the recommendations command. It is there. Should also complete to it. It does. And here is the moment of truth, the first test. Okay, well, it did something. So I don't know if you caught that on camera there or quickly saw it. It did say analyzing your system, and now it has outputted a bunch of stuff. System, 16 gig of RAM. I'm on a MacBook Pro, base model, pretty good. 10 cores, Apple GPU, lovely. I mean, it looks horrific as a step one. Quick start recommendation, Llama 3.1 8B, Ollama, good for excellent code quality. I don't know if I'd recommend Llama 3.1 8B as a starting model for this, because for long horizon agent coding tasks, it's probably not going to be great. Network connected, Yeah, completely free, private, local, limited, medium, Olama, limited agentic tasks, runs installed. Yeah, cool. It's giving off quite a good bit of information here. It just looks utterly horrific. Olama is already installed and running. Do you know what? On the surface, this is a really good start. I actually don't mind what it's done at all. Besides it looking nasty as anything, it does seem to be doing what it says to do, what it says it's meant to be doing. I think this is a great start, and I might call it there. In the next episode, we will definitely go over and obviously correct the model database, fix some of this styling because it is horrible, as well as work on the options that are available. Get some of these issues sorted and get this feature over the line. And I'll probably record this tomorrow because I do like to ship and work on these features quite regularly. So yeah, I'll record it tomorrow. Let's jump back to the studio and I will outro. Thank you very much for watching. If you like tech videos like this, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. It helps. I'm quite a new channel. I've been recording videos for a little bit, but I've just started to get into it a lot recently. And yeah, I've been sharing all sorts of what I do day to day. So if you like something like this, don't forget to do those cool things, and I'll catch you in the next video.